Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first ever postgraduate online welcome event. I'm Ruth, your compere today. Before I hand over to my colleagues, I have a few housekeeping items for you. The event today is wholly online. It's been recorded and we'll share the link after the event so that it's available for anybody unable to join us live or so that you can rewatch it. Some of the presenters have prepared slides with some key information on. Should you want to make any notes during the presentation, these can be added by clicking on the Notes tab. There's an option to download the slides, meaning that you don't need to copy them during the live event as well. There's also the opportunity to ask questions via the Q&A tab. In order to make best use of your time today, we'll be collating these and will reply to you after the event using the email you provided when you logged in. I think the rest should be self-explanatory. So, without further delay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Lisa Roberts, our Vice-Chancellor and Chief Executive.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's postgraduate welcome event and to the University of Exeter. I'm Lisa Roberts and I'm the Vice-Chancellor of the University. I'm also relatively new to the university myself. I took up my post here on 1st of September. Before coming to Exeter, I was the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Research and Innovation at the University of Leeds. And at Leeds, I also had responsibility for the Doctoral College. So for many years now, I've had a really deep interest and a commitment to the support and development of postgraduate students, which is why it's great to be here with you today. I obviously undertook my own PhD studies many years ago, working on the molecular biology of foot and mouth disease virus. So yes, I'm a virologist, which is a bit of a mixed blessing at the moment, as you can imagine. People wanting to know lots of answers to questions that I sometimes can't answer. After my PhD, I then went on to an academic career, which eventually led me here to Exeter. So first of all, can I take this opportunity to congratulate you all? It's a fantastic achievement to progress to postgraduate study at master's and PhD level. And it's really a testament to how hard you've worked during your previous studies. So very well done to you. But this is just the start of the next exciting step of your development and of your career, wherever that takes you after Exeter. So I always say that the postgraduate community is the beating heart of a university, and our postgraduate community plays a vital role in our world-leading research community here at Exeter. And today I just think it's really interesting to note that you join our vibrant community of around 5,500 postgraduate students from 127 different countries. So you're here to make your very own unique contributions to knowledge, and we're here to support you to do that to the very best of our ability, to make sure that you succeed and that you have an outstanding experience. So everybody's here to help you, so please don't be afraid to ask for help or give us feedback on what we can do better. Keeping in regular contact's never been more important than it has been this year as we grapple with the COVID pandemic. And whilst the pandemic's undoubtedly making this a really challenging time for us all, as we adapt to new ways of working together, as a university community, we're absolutely committed to ensuring that your experience, whilst very different to what you're expecting, is not diminished in any way. And I really believe that the choice you've made to pursue and further your education at this time is an excellent one. Education really is a passport to greater life opportunities and fulfillment. So whilst we tackle the pandemic and all that it's bringing to our lives, what better use of our time to be generating new knowledge, innovating and learning together. So Exeter Research, Scholarship and Professional Education is transforming lives around the world, in the classroom, in the laboratory, in the boardroom, and across society as a whole. And what we do as researchers not only makes an academic contribution in our respective fields, but it also has much wider global reach. And at Exeter, we're leading the way in tackling many global issues, whether that be global health, food and water security, climate change, global conflicts and terrorism, to name just a few of the big challenges we're focused on. And our research makes an impact in many ways in terms of health, social, cultural and economic benefits to the region, to the community of the UK as a whole, and also globally. And if just take a couple of examples of our most recent research highlights. So for instance, the work of Professor Tamara Galloway in Penryn, who won the Queen's Anniversary Prize for Higher Education earlier this year, for their research into the potentially devastating impact that microplastic pollution could have on the health of humans and wildlife. And two of our research projects have been shortlisted for the 2020 Times Higher Education Awards. One of them, the Places of Poetry project, has been nominated for Research Project of the Year from Arts and Humanities and Social Sciences. And the project inspired 3,200 writers to write poems about Britain's diverse landscape, identity and heritage. And people of all ages pinned their verses onto a distinctive digital map with 7,500 poems available online for anybody to read across the globe. And in the STEM category, the Research Project of the Year, academics at Exeter have been recognised for creating tree-based agricultural systems that are able to nourish the soil, improve cattle grazing and feed economically poor Brazilian smallholders in the Amazon arc of deforestation. And more than 60 hectares of land have been planted with legume trees from the diverse Inga genus, improving incomes and future prospects for those smallholder families. So two really impactful projects from our community. So as you can see, our research community is world leading right across our rich and diverse range of disciplines. And we pride ourselves not only in our world-class research, but also in the internationally excellence education offer that we offer, creating an outstanding learning environment for our students and our early career researchers. For our postgraduate research students, the University of Exeter Doctoral College is the focal point of information to support you in terms of training, resources and access to facilities. And the contribution of our PGR students to undergraduate teaching is also highly valued, and there are many opportunities for you to get involved as you progress through your studies in education. So with the outstanding students and staff that we have here at Exeter, we're ambitious for our future. And as the new Vice-Chancellor, I'm going to be spending much of my time in this coming year develop an exciting and innovative strategy and vision for the university that takes us through the next 10 years. So I really hope that some of you will engage in this process with me, and I'll certainly be coming to you for some ideas and challenges as we progress that work across the year. So just remains for me to say, I hope you find your studies this year both intellectually demanding and enjoyable. Please don't hesitate to discuss with your supervisor or your programme leader or your college anything that the university can do to support you further during this year and beyond this year. I wish you all the very best with your studies. Good luck, very best wishes. And I now hand over to Professor Janice Kay, our Provost.
Thank you, Lisa, for that welcome and introduction to this event. I too would like to welcome you to the University of Exeter. It's fantastic to see you all today, albeit virtually, but welcome to our Exeter community and congratulations on getting here through such a trying and unprecedented year. My name is Janice Kay. I'm Provost and Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor of the University, a role which includes many things, but one of which I'm privileged to say is to lead the Provost Commission and to support equality, diversity and inclusion across the university. And this is what I plan to talk to you a little about today. As postgraduate students, we will be looking to you to help us lead the way to ensure our student community is as inclusive and as welcoming as it can possibly be. Today gives me an opportunity to affirm our values and to highlight some of the equality, diversity and inclusion activities that take place here. It's important to start off by saying that we're an anti-racist institution with zero tolerance of racism and prejudice. We know we need to act and communicate this more strongly than ever before. And with your support and that of the whole university community, we're in a much better place to build the most welcoming and safe community possible. In May 2018, I set up a new Provost Commission to recommend and implement a fundamentally new approach towards events, initiatives and policies to ensure an open, diverse and safe university community for everyone. This forum has grown throughout the last 2 years, and this year we're proud to have partnered with our valued BAME staff, Students and Allies Network to launch a series of Let's Talk events. At present, we're jointly examining the Black awarding gap and how we can tackle this as a university. And we've also committed to evidencing our progress via the Race Equality Charter Mark. If you were with us as an undergraduate student, you may well be aware of a survey that we undertook earlier this year to give us a very clear picture of where we currently stand. And we look forward to sharing the outcome of the survey later in the academic year. The Charter Mark is administered by Advance HE and aims to improve the representation, progression and success of Black, Asian and minority ethnic staff and students in higher education. Through undertaking a comprehensive self-assessment, institutions are able to develop specific targeted actions to advance race equality, which will allow us to evidence our journey to becoming actively anti-racist. We're also proud to be an institution, one of a relatively small number, that is recognised with a Silver Athena Swan University Award for our work in promoting gender equality. And we are really sensitive to the urgency of promoting the rights of all our minority groups and to the importance of intersectionality. So where do you come in all this? You're a completely invaluable part. Please do as much as you can to engage via our societies and networks, for example. And Cara and Sunday will be saying more about that in a few minutes. Challenge us, suggest actions and initiatives that frankly we might not have thought of to move us forward. And if you see any aspect of poor behaviour, from overt actions to microaggressions, call it out. And please use our Speak Out web resources if you need. Our university values are ambition, collaboration, challenge, community, impact, and rigour. These describe the essence of what we are and what it means to be University of Exeter, ensuring also that you subscribe, all of us do, to a common code of humanity. And please sprinkle in excitement, innovation and fun too, and add a bit of compassion. Join in, get involved in the opportunities available. One of our wonderfully diverse and active societies, for example, or actually simply by taking the time to ensure you've undertaken equality, diversity and inclusion training. So today I'm asking you, our senior students, to help us embody these values, challenge us, work with us and the community, and have a very real impact on the future of the university. And on that note, it's very fitting that I hand over to Cara to talk about the importance of our students' unions and student representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. I'm Cara and I'm from the Falmouth and Exeter Students' Union. I'm the President Exeter and this is one of 4 presidents at the Falmouth and Exeter Students' Union, 3 of whom are representatives of Exeter Cornwall campus students. So I'm going to explain to you a bit more about what the Falmouth and Exeter Students' Union does and what opportunities there are for you to get involved with. Went the wrong way. Let me just go back to the beginning. So the Falmouth and Exeter Students' Union is a registered charity, as are all SUs, and you'll often hear us referred to as the SU if you're an Exeter Cornwall student. We represent all Falmouth University students and University of Exeter students in Cornwall, and we're funded jointly by both universities. We're one of only 2 SUs in the UK to serve 2 universities in this way, which makes it a really interesting dynamic, and it's a really exciting place to work and an exciting place for students to get involved with. There is an About Us video, which should have been sent to you, so you can watch that in your own time, and that will give you a bit more information about the Students' Union and the culture of the Students' Union. One of the things we offer is various opportunities, such as sports clubs, societies, and fundraising. Now, obviously, this year things look a bit different, but all these opportunities are still available to you, just in different forms. And we've been working really hard over the summer and over September with the university and with various stakeholders to make sure that there are lots of fun things for you to do, lots of ways for you to connect with your peers, and lots of ways for you to further boost your employability whilst you're at university here. So we have a virtual welcome fair this year, which is live all term. You can access that at our new welcome site, and that will show you all information about the new sports clubs and societies and various opportunities available to you. And you can register your interest for these and purchase memberships. Some societies and sports clubs are able to offer face-to-face events, obviously some aren't, but all those that aren't are still offering a lot of virtual opportunities for you to get involved with. And all of our sports clubs, societies and events are open to all students, and they're really keen to welcome our postgrad students, so don't be deterred from joining in. We also have an advice service at the Students' Union. So if you're a Exeter student that's based in Cornwall and you need advice on anything, from appeals to accommodation to finances, you can contact our advice team. Their email address is advice@thesu.org.uk, and they'll provide you with free, confidential and impartial advice. And we have student communities too. And these are really important this year for helping students to connect in a time when they can't meet up as much in sort of face-to-face social scenarios. So please, again, go onto our new welcome site. You just need to scroll to the bottom and you can find out about how to be a part of these communities and meet new people in this virtual platform. And finally, we have our student voice service. So this is the sort of umbrella under which all of our academic representation and student experience representation occurs. So we have a course rep system, and we're really keen to recruit as many postgraduate reps this year as possible, so that we can improve the academic representation for all of our postgrad students. We also have the PGR executive and doctoral college meetings where postgrad specific issues can be discussed. And we have a rep online system which is being opened up to all students, and that's available for you to start using as soon as your course starts next week. So if you have anything that you're concerned about on your course or in your research, or in your wider experience at the university that you want to tell someone about, you can either go via your reps or via the rep online system, and this feedback will be fed to the appropriate people and we will deal with it as efficiently as possible. Finally, we have our part-time officers, which are sit on the student council, and they run the Students' Union and decide the policies which the Students' Union puts forward. So elections for that are happening next week, so make sure that you take a look at all the candidates and get your votes in for that. And any positions that aren't filled, there will be vacancies available that you can step into if you haven't had a chance to nominate yourself so far and you would like to. That's it from me. Here's some contact info. I'm the President Exeter, so I deal with all things academic if you're an Exeter Cornwall student. There's also Amelia Banton, who's the President Student Experience. She represents you on anything that's not academic and not welfare related. So that might be sports, societies, sustainability, campus facilities, etc. There's also Charlotte Agnew, who's the President Welfare and Inclusivity. So she represents you on all things welfare related, whether that's accommodation, mental health, inclusivity, diversity. So please feel free to get in touch with any of us if you have any feedback for us, any issues or concerns, or you want to know more about how to get involved with the Students' Union. We're your representative body in Cornwall. We liaise with the university to make sure that you're having the best experience possible. And we really want to hear from the postgraduate community. So yeah, please get in touch. I'm now going to hand over to Sunday, who is the president of the Students' Guild, which is the equivalent body for students studying at the Devon campuses. So yeah, thanks for your time, and I welcome you to Exeter, and I really hope that you enjoy your studies here.
Okay, I hope that's working. So as Cara said, my name is Sunday and I am the Guild President in Exeter. I'm actually really happy to be talking at the postgraduate sort of welcome event because I came to Exeter as a postgraduate in 2015. So I've been here a really long time. And I came here originally as a master's student, and I stayed on eventually running for Vice President Postgraduate in 2019 and then running for President in 2020. So obviously across student unions and across HE in general, there's quite a lot of like discontent around the involvement of postgraduate taught students or postgraduate research students in student unions. But please take from my example that obviously we are super involved here as much as undergraduates, and you may also want to run in your Students' Guild. So it's definitely not an undergraduate focused union. It's here for everyone, including students of all different ages. Last year we had a sabbatical officer who was in her 40s, so we've got a really good diverse range of representatives here. So welcome to Exeter. One of the great things about the Students' Guild is every student is automatically a member and it's free. So you don't have to pay any money to be part of the union. The reason we can do this is because the university gives us a block grant, which is actually incredibly generous now. So we can enhance your experience and really give you the best experience that you can get at Exeter. Obviously, we know that sometimes things don't go smoothly, but that's why we've also got an advice unit, which I will get onto at the end of the presentation. So yeah, obviously I'm the Guild President. Last year I was Vice President Postgraduate, which is Josip's role this year. Unfortunately, Josip is actually leaving us early, and the reason he's leaving us early is because he was just offered some funding to do a PhD, completely unexpected, and it was really an opportunity for him that he couldn't say no to. And I'm sure he won't mind me saying this. He's shared it publicly before, but obviously Josip came to Exeter as Josip came to England as a refugee. So again, when I come back to this idea, as Janice said, you know, we are a inclusive campus, and I hope you can see that represented in your student offices. So when Josip was offered this PhD funding, he absolutely could not turn it down. And I think Josip's story is great because it's one of how transformative education can be. But so Josip will be going. However, we will be continuing to represent postgraduate interests. I hope that myself as the president, having been in Exeter for 5 years and been a postgraduate here, I'm hope that, you know, I can represent postgraduate interests. Penny is the Vice President Education, and she's very on the ball with postgraduate taught students and understanding what they may need. But we will also be trying to fill his role eventually with a by-election afterwards. Ruby is Vice President Welfare and Diversity. With our welfare and diversity role, we know that some unions do actually have these as separate roles, and we are still having a lot of conversations around separating these into 2 roles. The reason being is that welfare is obviously such a huge issue, but diversity is as well, especially now, especially with a lot of the really serious social issues that are coming to light, and as organisations we have to sort of deal with them seriously. So I know that having that as one role at the moment, every year when I say every year as if I've done this loads of times, I've done it one at a time last year, but people do sort of say, why is that one role? And it is something that we are aware of and looking into in terms of doing an officer role restructure. Finally, Liv Harvey is the Vice President Activities, and activities is basically all different societies and volunteering opportunities. So I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. I would say that we're all on social media under the handles that you can see on the screen. We are also on social media on sort of personal accounts, but I would say be aware, because there are different levels of comfort with approaching people on their social media. So me, for example, and Liv are quite chatty on social media. We're quite happy for people to contact us, but I think that other officers might not be as happy, so always check first, but if in doubt, go to the official social media or go to our email addresses. Liv also is doing a fantastic job looking after, we've got over 300 societies at Exeter, so any society issues, go to Liv. I don't understand how she holds all the information in her head, but she does. And then you've got your part-time officers. So these are the college officers, and now every college has an officer. So you will be assigned a college officer, and they represent you at a college level. So obviously, as sabbatical officers, we represent you sort of at a senior management level. College officers will represent you at the college level, and you can find I think I've got the website here. Yeah, so if you can find out more about your college officer at exeter.com/voice, and we do give them a professional email as well, so you can contact them on that. I would try not to bore you with too much bureaucracy here, so I'll go through this relatively quickly. But you're also represented at subject level. I think the reason we have these different tiers is because if every single subject rep came to sort of me as a guild president, I don't think I would ever get through my emails. So these systems of representation work really well as a form of feedback. Subject reps are obviously your subject, so they may even be in your seminars or your classes, and you can find out who they are at exeter.com/voice as well. They will take all sorts of feedback from you. So timetabling issues, we know that PGT students are sometimes parents, or more often parents. Sometimes they have part-time jobs, so timetabling is an issue that we talk about quite a lot. Curriculum content is a big issue, especially now that there are lots of conversations going around about what does a colonised or decolonized curriculum look like. Assessment, how you're being assessed, is it accessible, is it fair, especially in a sort of digital world. I know that Penny's been doing so much work since March on how to make assessments really accessible, especially if you're doing it remotely, and also academic support. So things like, does the pastoral tutor system work for you? Do you think it can change? So any any interests that you believe need to be represented, or feedback that you have, or even praise as well. You can always like give back praise, because I know that our academics do work really hard, particularly under a pandemic, so praise is great as well. But the representation and feedback system is a really good example of how we're a member-led union. So it's not a top-down approach, it's really driven by you, and we're our representatives to serve your interests. So yeah, you can give your feedback to subjects-councils@groups.exeter.uk. Please don't worry, I know that's a really long email address and quite strange, but you can also just find all of this available on our website. And you can also become a subject rep. So really keen to get postgraduate subject reps involved. I know that more undergrads tend to apply, but it's really, really important that we get postgraduate voice. Postgraduates who didn't do their undergraduate here are vital people that we hear back from, because obviously coming to do a postgraduate when you haven't done your undergraduate here is completely different to having spent 3 or 4 years here already. So please don't feel that you don't know the union or you don't know the campus enough. Like, you're really, really important to hear from. And also it just looks great. It's really good to sort of get involved with the union, especially if you're thinking about getting involved in politics or anything like that later on. It's sort of a nice little like microcosmic taste. The sort of stress that comes with management politics as well, but I think that getting involved with the union was definitely one of the best things I ever done. And when I came here as a master's student, I felt like I wasn't part of the union, and maybe I shouldn't get involved because I did my undergraduate somewhere else. But I'm really, really glad I did, and obviously half a decade later I'm now president, which is another story for another time. If you want to get involved with your societies, we've got societies that come under broad headlines here, but we have got over 300 societies, and we have everything from like a Quidditch society, which is people playing Quidditch as a sport, all the way to sort of like societies like I think it's called Medicare, can't remember their name. I went to a Zoom presentation that they did this week, but it's a society that like takes people abroad and teaches communities new trades. So we do, you can play Quidditch in Exeter, or you could end up traveling around the world. So it's really, really up to you. Obviously each society has their own committee, so if you want to get even more involved, you can become a committee member. And if there's nothing for you, which is very rare because there is everything for everyone, but if there is nothing for you, you can create your own. And we're one of the only unions who don't put a limit on the number of societies that we have, because we don't want to stop people from creating societies. So some unions will say, well, no, we're going to limit it at 200 societies, and if another society wants to be created, another one will have to go dormant. But we don't do that here. We try to facilitate as much kind of academic and recreational enrichment as we can. And now finally, obviously this isn't a great part of what we do. Well, it is great, but it's not the fun part. But we do know that people do experience hardship and different issues that come up throughout the academic year. Please don't feel that when you come to us with an issue, it has to fit neatly into one of these categories, because obviously we do know that when issues come up, it normally, like, the categories normally fit into each other, because one thing spurs another thing on, that sort of spurs another thing on. But we would rather you come to us early with something that's not a problem than come to us later when it's got a lot more difficult. And an example of this can be things like landlord problems, because they can escalate, or if your house isn't fit for human habitation, obviously those problems can escalate and it can deteriorate, your condition can deteriorate. So do let us know. We work very closely with the legal clinic, which is in the law school, and they give free legal advice. So we are sort of really interconnected. We can help a lot, basically, is what I'm saying. I also forgot to say, actually, with the subject reps, just this year, Penny has created some new subject rep roles. So if you don't want to be just a subject rep, you can be an equality rep, so equality within education. So you can be a BAME rep, an international rep, or an equality rep. So the equality rep is sort of like accessibility. So there are those options as well. And I would say the other thing that I don't know why I forgot to say this, because it's basically the biggest thing that we've done. When the lockdown first happened, your Exeter students' feedback was so valuable, because what we did as representatives of the feedback is we took what the students wanted and the help that they needed under lockdown and presented it to the DVC education, who then came up with the no detriment policy. And he's often said this publicly, that policy was designed because of student feedback. And obviously, since that policy has been rolled out, it's been adopted by basically every other university in the UK. So like, whatever it is, please don't feel that your voice isn't important, because it is, and you can have like huge impact on sometimes national policy. So do get in touch. So we've got digital freshers. Oh, it's gone September. Sorry, this is an out of date slide. So we have got digital freshers fair that's going to be coming up again for postgraduates. And then the freshers hub is obviously exeterguild.com/freshers. So you can basically check out anything that's going on. We have things like refreshers. So obviously you have the thing that's happened differently this year is we've had a staggered induction. So we are sort of rerunning freshers events throughout the first term, so you can still get involved. And if you need to find out anything more, please just email info@exeterguild.com or follow us on social media. I think that's the end of the slide. It does say any questions, because I normally present this in a hall in front of students, but obviously I am not doing that. I'm talking to my laptop screen. But if you have got any questions, shoot me a DM on any of my social media channels, or just send me an email. I don't really tend to sleep, and if I'm not working, I tend to be drinking Red Bull from the SU shop. So I will try to answer you as quickly as possible. But yeah, that's me. I think what I need to do now is, I'm not sure if Mike is here or not. Oh, you've arrived. Okay. So now I need to introduce Mike Shaw-Knight, who is the registrar for Exeter.
Thank you, Sunday. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all virtually. I just want to make one thing clear, which is that I'm a damn sight older than Sunday, so I need my sleep. So don't message me in the middle of the night if you don't mind, because no amount of Red Bull is going to keep me awake, that's for sure. Yeah, University Registrar and Secretary, which is quite a peculiar sort of title, really. But what it means is I work alongside Janice for Lisa, and I lead the professional services of the university. So that's 2,500 colleagues who are not academics, but they support all of the activity that goes on across the institution. From cutting the grass and making sure the trees are looking good, through to providing estates patrol, who will have engaged with you when you were doing the admissions process, who support those of you who are working on research projects, who are visiting hubs, who are in halls of residence or eating or anything of that nature. They're an amazing team, really dedicated, really supportive of your experience, and are here to help you. So from all of them, I'd say a really big welcome, and we look forward to the year ahead, and hope you get to enjoy it. Look, I'm going to cover off a few different things than I would do in a normal year, to be honest. I'm going to talk about Restart, which is our move back onto campus in the physical environment. I'm also going to go through the kind of key measures we've done to try and deliver a COVID secure campus. and then talk a bit about what we're doing in terms of current issues and supporting welfare, etc. It's going to be a bit of a whistle-stop talk, so I don't have a huge amount of time, but hopefully you'll bear with me as I'll try and explain what we're doing. During the summer, we spent a lot of time working through how we would restart and how the campus would operate physically. Obviously, it was against the background of lots of guidance from the Department for Education and for the University's Minister, and obviously best practice from things like the Scientific Advisory Group of the government. Obviously, it was against the backdrop of declining numbers of infections and a slight change and an easing up across the country, really, of the kind of lockdown conditions that we all experienced in the early part of the year. And the Southwest particularly always had extremely low levels of COVID anyway, so we were not that badly impacted, fortunately, as a community. So during that period of time, during the summer, we spent a lot of money and a lot of time making sure that the campuses were appropriately updated. So when you walk around, you can obviously see lots of signage everywhere, one-way systems, hand sanitizers wherever you go. We obviously purchased all of the sort of face coverings we provided and thermometers, and developed lots and lots of inductions and kind of guidance to staff and students. The main sort of measures, we divided up into sort of 6 big chunks. So the first one was about trying to make sure we could maintain social distancing. So effectively in teaching space, it's always having a 1 metre plus space and trying to make sure we can have space on campus. And the best way to do that was to try and reduce congestion. And we did that by effectively moving an awful lot of our teaching into asynchronous or synchronous teaching events where you can meet your academic colleagues and teachers through Zoom or through Teams or through a whole different range of ways, and obviously looking at lectures. And that obviously allowed us to reduce congestion on campus so that everyone could maintain social distancing. The second thing is we tried to support individual members of staff and students by providing you with lots of information. So hopefully you saw the videos and watched the inductions and things and went through the kind of things you needed to consider to make sure that you can keep yourself safe. We also invested in a university testing system so that if people did have symptoms, we would be able to support them quickly and they wouldn't have to travel a long way away from campus. And that's really been a key approach for us. And it's continuing to work and continuing to deliver. So it does mean that we can identify people if they do have positive tests from wherever they've come from across the country. We have tried to empower personal responsibility, so we've tried to communicate all the time. We've tried to share our plans and let you know about case numbers and that kind of thing. And we think that it's better for everybody to understand the sort of scale of the challenges that we're facing and the fact that we've got some support there. We have developed a student charter and a student pledge, and hopefully you've seen that, which is saying effectively you're going to adhere to the COVID regulations that are in place to help keep us and all of our community safe. This is a community effort, and the thing I've been really amazed by is the gigantic efforts that have been made by everybody. 99% of people have been following guidance really well and doing a great job. And where we have had some difficult situations, we've dealt with it and we've engaged with those individuals. But, I really do think we should focus on the majority who've been following best practice rather than the minority. We have done an awful lot of physical alterations. We've had to move lots of furniture. All of the sort of learning space on campus are in 2 metre spaces. But we've tried to replace some of that lot of space with things like the marquees and tables everywhere, and tried to reuse space really, so to try and give people some dwell space on campus. There are perspex screens everywhere and bits of signage just to remind you of what we're doing. And we have actually mapped all of the ventilation across the entire institution to make sure we've got the right flow of information. And we've also increased the amount of cleaning, particularly on touch points wherever we are. And we're working at the moment, particularly with students in halls, around helping them to help keep their spaces clean as much as they can do and really tackle those touch points. We tried to co-create all of these solutions. So we've had a series of group meetings. The Guild and the SU have been a key part of that, along with campus unions, to work through the measures we're taking, the steps and how we're going about communicating. We have had positive feedback from that communication we've done and some negative feedback because we've obviously had to supply an awful lot of information. But every week you'll see a weekly student bulletin, and then you'll also see a registrar's communication. So they only use my title when it's something that's a bit miserable and telling you to do something, but that's fine because that's kind of me. But if you see one of those notes from me, it's best reading it in a bit of detail and trying to get your head around it because it's got really clear guidance there in terms of what you need to do. On top of that, we've also tried to look for best practice. So every single day we meet with Public Health Devon and Public Health England. We also meet with colleagues from the NHS and also from Exeter City Council and also from the County Council. Our Vice Chancellor and Provost are both members of the sort of local groups that look at how to manage COVID in the city and the region. And the same thing happens across Cornwall as well. So we really are plugged in to make sure that we work together to do the right thing to do for our wider community. All of our efforts have been focused on keeping our students and our staff, but also our wider community safe. And that's something that we ask everybody to take really seriously. Obviously, there's nervousness, particularly in those populations which are a bit more at risk from COVID. So, we ask everybody to really bear that in mind when they're going around, in and around in Penryn or Exeter or anywhere else. Just, respect that social distancing and give people the time and space to be able to get on with what they're doing. I wanted to just quickly touch on the sort of current situation and what's going on. You will have seen emails that have come out around the number of cases that are taking place. And it is, it does sort of take your breath away a bit when you see it. And obviously, some of that's because I think, nationally we potentially underestimated the level of asymptomatic, infections that were going on in the community. But I think the good thing is that because of the testing we've been able to do, we have been able to start to get on top of this, and we are starting to see some good trends starting to emerge. We do have our testing centres on campus at the moment, and we're continuing to review those each day. We'll probably keep them on site until the middle of next week. But we also have our Halo system as well, and that's still being used to do targeted testing and also testing in Cornwall, and it's working extremely well. We are focusing on where infections are taking place, and primarily it's in houses of multiple occupation in the city amongst households, and then some more spread in halls. So we're working on cleaning regimes and supporting the students that are there. We've spent a huge amount of time trying to develop support networks for everybody. So if you look in my emails, it directs you to where to look, but there's a student COVID site, and that describes the whole package of measures that we're putting in place to support you. So what are they? Well, obviously we've got a big group of staff who are there to help support. We have our kind of emergency response team, security in Cornwall, and then the Estates Patrol in Exeter. We also have colleagues that if you're in the halls, so Residences Life, who can support you. Obviously you've got your personal tutors, but then we've also got lots of welfare resources if you're finding this whole thing very anxious and concerning, which of course I think most of us do. There's also a way in which you can order groceries or food support if you need it. And if you're having to self-isolate, we can help you with that and enable it. We've also got a system to help deliver pharmacy and to get prescriptions, etc. And today we've also recently launched a kind of a board and buster digital hamper type thing, which is if you are having to self-isolate because you or one of your flatmates or somebody in your house is having to self-isolate, so you can access things like Amazon and Netflix. Obviously, if it was me, I would purely download lots of improving books. But if you're not like me, or maybe you really are like me, you probably would look at Netflix instead. But anyway, to try and make it sort of not quite so difficult, when you're having to go into isolation in that way. Obviously, we have stepped up support within the welfare teams and in terms of GP support. Fortunately, at the moment, everybody that has had, is being reached out to and getting a couple of calls during their period of isolation to make sure that they're okay, and no one's reporting anything too seriously. So that's really good at the moment. But obviously, we're continuing to monitor and support stuff. You will have seen that we've been asking people not to mix in households. That's because that's really where the transmissions is happening. We're not seeing any evidence of it in teaching spaces or when people are doing other organised events where they've got social distancing in place and wearing face coverings. It really is more where people are going around and their guard is down and they're sitting having social interaction with other households. Now we've extended that for another week, so until the 19th. We will consider how that goes over the weekend, and then we may need to put some other measures in next week, but we'll keep you updated. I suppose the assurance I can give you is that we're only doing this to help protect each other. The worst possible situation is if we don't get a grip on these kind of situations, and then we have to move to even further measures and further lockdowns, both within the city and the region. So it's all in our own hands really, to try and get a grip on it, try and improve control and reduce numbers. For most people, it's disconcerting, and it's not much fun, and it's pretty boring. You don't feel terribly well. But obviously, in wider members of our community, it can be a lot more serious than that. We really want to sort of work together to help prevent that ongoing transmission. We will continue to communicate about the importance of space for each other, faces, so making sure you're wearing your face coverings, and then of course hands, and making sure you're washing your hands. In a normal year, I would be running through the sort of the services that are being provided and a bit more of the detail, and the kind of things you can engage with, be through activities on campus or sport or engaging with colleagues to enable what they're doing. But I thought it was best this time to concentrate that little bit more on what we're doing in relation to making sure we've got a COVID secure campus at this very strange time. People have asked me a few times, what do we expect for the year? And the honest truth is it's very difficult. Nobody's got a crystal ball. I think the truth is it's going to be pretty bumpy. There's going to be an awful lot of change. It's going to be very different maybe from the kind of years we've had previously. But I think even within it, I think there's going to be a real opportunity to, sort of knuckle down on the work we're doing, but also really, developing some friendships and getting to know people and really be part of an educational experience at a really quite historic time. Certainly be something for us all to talk about in our memoirs, won't it, in the future. I do hope that you have a great time with us. I'm certainly always, mindful of watching everything that's going on across professional services, picking up on where things are not quite working, not going quite right. At the moment, we're obviously spinning up whole new ways of operating and services to try and keep people safe and supported. And that's not always going brilliantly or right first time, but let us know about it. We always engage closely with the Students' Union and Guild, and they give us loads of really constructive feedback that we can build on and try and get things right for you, if not first time, certainly the time after. So I think that is everything I was going to cover off today. I hope it's a very useful update for you. And I guess with that, I'll hand over to Ruth.
Lovely, thank you, Mike. I hope you valued today's event. Thank you so much for joining us. We would welcome feedback, so please do let us know what worked and what we could reflect upon and do better for next time. As I mentioned at the start, this is the first time we've ever done an online event like this, so we're learning as we go. We'd also really welcome questions, and I don't think actually we've got that many questions posted yet, so please do put them up there so that we can get those answers back to you. But most of all, my final passing comment on behalf of all of us, we would just like to say thank you for choosing to study at postgraduate level with us here at the University of Exeter.